As a devout Protestant, James would have wanted to thank God for his safe passage. He might even have visited the consistory court inside. From here, he would have made his way via Shoemaker's Row. You can imagine people craning over the rows to catch a glimpse of their new monarch making his way onto Pentis Row.
To here, where the Pentis once stood. So what is a Pentis? Has it anything to do with Alan Sugar? You're fired.
Pentis was a town hall, coming from the French word appender, meaning to attach or lean. This is because the building was leaning on the southern wall of St. Peter's Church. Two-storey timber structure consisting of rooms above and traders underneath. The first earliest record we have of repair work is in 1498. In the rooms above, it was used as a magistrate's court to dispense justice. Possibly, James had a feast here in 1603.
For some businesses, such as those in food production, the King's visit would have drawn crowds though, resulting in greater passing trade, 20% in food production. And there were plenty of trades operating in Chester. Some estimates put 20% of Chester craftsmen working in the leather trade. And of course, there's the bricklayers.
Miles Mason, he's a bricklayer, living and working in Chester. He's a very sober, very hard-working man.
Originally partnered with the cappers, pinners, wire drawers and linen drapers, such partnerships created financial benefits, right? One local story tells of a linen draper woman marrying a bricklayer mayor in this period. However, records proving this seem hard to come by. A fifth of Chester's workers were involved in the clothing trade. After all, everybody had to look their best, or at least as good as they could get. I mean, look at this guy.
May I present the Tudor wardrobe? Linen shirt underneath. Pretty standard wear for these times. The Dutch tend to be actually known for their starching. Mainly for roughs, though the lower orders wouldn't need these. What we've actually got here though is known as the soldier's coat. Now these are actually worn right from the Middle Ages through into the 19th century, because there's actually said to be photographs of workmen actually wearing these. Again, linen on the inside and then wool on the outside, so you just don't want to get it wet. Standard breeches just there, very much hobbit trousers. The shoes are quite interesting actually, because these are known as latchets, and what's bizarre is, take both out to have a look at them, notice they can be worn on either foot because each one is flat at the end. You've got here some standard hose, some stockings. Again, these are to keep your legs covered and warm, because you don't want to show a bit of ankle, because that is being a bit too risque. By this point, of course, the coif that workmen would have worn has gone out and it's been replaced by a simple cap, like so. Again, you might have lined the inside to make it a bit more sort of, well, to soak up a bit of the sweat in the summer months, but essentially this is all you're going to need. So a lot of elements wouldn't look out of place in Elizabeth's reign, because again, if you're of the lower orders, you might not necessarily be able to keep up with the times. A lot of the images we actually have of what workmen wore back then actually come from woodcuts. In An Academy of Armoury, 1649, Randall Holm III actually looks into a lot of the tools and instruments that would have been found in Chester shops.
Ranked 6th in order of precedence amongst Chester crafts, the Bricklayers' Company had originally been incorporated in 1568 by Elizabeth I. They were, in turn, governed by a master and wardens, responsible for keeping minutes and moneys during company meetings. The production of Balaam and Balaam's Ass as part of the Midsummer Shows in 1603, for example, authorised the stewards to share the costs with the linen drapers, an arrangement that they unsuccessfully tried to withdraw from. That same year, the bricklayers were confirmed with their own coat of arms by a visiting James I.
Now the bizarre thing, of course, about Common Hall Lane is this is where the bricklayers and linen drapers actually meet. They've got a site somewhere around here, it doesn't actually mention where, called Smith's Meeting House. Now it's actually quite common back then, if you're part of a guild or a company, quite often you will hire out the premises of an inn, or you may well hire out
Phoenix Tower. It features a reminder of the painters, embroiderers and stationers' company, added later in the century by local heraldic artist Randall Holm III. In the early 17th century, the painters' company would meet here to conduct business and to get wet, for the roof was
uncooled with lead and rain descending upon and into the same.
They and the barber surgeons, tallow chandlers and wand chandlers would have to make a complaint to the assembly to repair it. And was it repaired? Eventually, in 1613, by the painters' company themselves. It's been quite a hard journey so far. So the last year or so has been tricky because obviously every tour guide will tell you around Christmas time or the months when it's cold, it gets very, attendance can dip quite considerably. Summer months though, complete opposite. You can have crowds of about 30 odd people wandering around. Chester is an absolutely beautiful city. It's really got its own character there, and any way we can bring people in, even better. Our logic very much is a case of we're happy to advertise other people within heritage and other services, because at the end of the day we're all in the same sector. If you want something to do on a Saturday, come on tour, come be my friend for an hour and a half. It's all good fun. For city officials though, James's first visit here was a success, and the king was now off on further adventures. But adventures are often courted by danger. Next time, historiographers travel to Lancaster.